What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. We are doing week 3 of the foundational health series to start off the new year. So if you guys have not caught the other two videos, make sure to go back and check out week 1, where we talked about setting goals for the new year, and week 2, where we talked about nutrition. We are going to do 8 whole weeks. I'll talk to you guys through all those 8 weeks in a second here, what exactly those look like. But before we get into that, for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Logan Grundy. I'm the owner of Peak Health Revolution, where I've helped over 150 of my online clients accomplish their goals. I'm also a Chinese medicine practitioner in Vernon, British Columbia at Habitat Health, where I've helped over 1,000 clients over the years with acupuncture. At the clinic, you'll primarily find me treating pain-related stuff and nervous system dysregulation. My online coaching practice, primarily looking at helping hikers and outside athletes accomplish more out in nature, so going further and faster up in the mountains without pain and without injuries. So let's get into this. Basically, let's talk about real quick what the 8 weeks looks like. So the 8-week foundational health series, the idea is it's a new year. This is when everyone is focused on their health. So I'm just going over the stuff that is the low-hanging fruit that's going to get you guys the most out of this year with the least input. So what's actually going to move that dial for you guys? So week 1, we talked about setting goals, where people fail with setting goals. 91% of people or 92% of people each year fail on their New Year's resolutions by the end of February. So I taught you guys how to set proper goals so that you can be more successful this year. Week 2, we talked about nutrition principles, and now we're getting into week 3 here, talking about breathing. Then we still got sleep, movement, recovery, habits, and then some bonus tools and things that you guys can be doing on top of all of these basics. If throughout this, you guys, you have any questions or want to reach out, you can send me a message at peakhealthrevolution@gmail.com, and I will reply to all of those emails for you guys. And in this one, I'm going to be going over kind of a surface level stuff on breathing and giving you guys some key exercises. But if you do want a deeper dive on that, I do have options there for breathwork programming and even just videos to walk you through some of the stuff I'm going to take you through. So if you want access to those, just send me a message as we go through this if it piques your interest at peakhealthrevolution@gmail.com. So let's get into week number 2 here. Sorry, guys, I said week number 2. We are in week 3, so breath work is what we're going to be talking about primarily this week. So why is breathing so important? Why is our breath so important to us? That's what we're going to kind of cover first. And the reason why we're talking about breath work is it's something that we can leverage in a big way. It's one of those things that our body just naturally does when we go about our day. We don't really think about our breathing, but it has a huge impact on our nervous system and a lot of the different functions of our body. So it's something that we're able to go in and actually hijack and say, hey, I want you to breathe this specific way. And that's why it's such an important tool for us and something that we can leverage in a really big way when we look at our nervous system. So whether you're dealing with stress, anxiety, low energy, having difficulty falling asleep, all sorts of things like that, breathing is going to be super important. Managing your breath goes a really long ways there. The other area that I see there's massive room for improvement is people trying to improve their cardiovascular capacity, doing all this work, running, biking, hiking, whatever it is, trying to build up our cardiovascular capacity. And one thing that a lot of people are missing is just like, what if we could be more efficient? Instead of driving around in a big diesel truck, what if we became like a little Toyota Prius and we just got way more efficient with our breathing? So that's essentially what we're trying to do with this breathwork stuff, is get way more efficient at it and learn how to manipulate our nervous system a little bit through our breath. So the number one thing that we're going to be talking about and referencing a lot throughout this is CO2 tolerance. So with CO2 tolerance, it's important to understand like what is it and how does it affect our breathing. So when we say breathing, most people immediately jump to oxygen. We need oxygen to live, yada, yada. But what we're missing is the other half of that equation, which is CO2 and our tolerance in our body to CO2. So if I have you guys hold your breath, it's actually not a lack of oxygen that is going to make you want to breathe. It's actually the buildup of that CO2. So what happens with our CO2? Why is it important to us? When we hold our breath, two things are going to happen. Our CO2 levels are going to increase and our oxygen levels are going to decrease as we take that amount of air in and we're holding that and we're not changing that. Our body continues to use oxygen. That's why it's decreasing. And the byproduct of everything that's going on in our body is obviously that CO2. That's why we see that increase. Now, with that CO2 increase, we actually have our oxygen becomes more available to our body and we start to use more of it. So typically day to day, we're not using a high percentage of the oxygen that is in our body. as those CO2 levels rise, we actually start to utilize more of the CO or more of the oxygen, sorry, that is already within our body. And that's why we actually want to be able to tolerate more CO2 so that we can get more out of the oxygen and overall just become more efficient with our breathing. So the higher our CO2 tolerance is, the more efficient we are with breathing, the less desire we have to breathe as our CO2 tolerance increases. And then as that's increasing, less desire to breathe, less of that stress, that anxiety that kicks you into that kind of fight or flight state. And we become a much more efficient system with our lungs and our cardiovascular system. So these are the main exercises that I'm going to walk you guys through that cover a ton of territory when we're talking about breathing. So breath work is getting a lot of traction right now, and it's for good reason. It's a very useful thing to us. What I do see though is that a lot of people are going after the fancy breathwork stuff that makes us feel a certain way, and we really can feel it palpably in that moment. Things like Wim Hof breathing or hyperventilating type stuff like that, versus what I'm going to show you guys, which applies to your day-to-day life and just makes you a much more efficient being, and also helps a lot with managing stress, anxiety, and energy levels. So what those exercises are is we're going to learn to breathe lighter, slower, and deeper, and then combine all three of those together. Overall, what we want is a lighter, slower, deeper breath. And we start with this as breath work that we're consciously sitting down and going and doing with the intentions that it becomes our norm and just how we normally are breathing through our day. So I'll quickly explain all of these exercises for you guys. And then if you're interested in getting into these a little bit more, I have videos that walk you through exactly what we're doing that you can kind of follow along with and dive a little bit deeper. And also breathwork programs that kind of walk you through this stuff. So if you're interested in that, again, peakhealthrevolution@gmail.com, and I will send those over to you. Just send me a message. Let me know that you're interested in the breathwork stuff after watching the foundational health series here. So breathe light. Basically, what we want to do, sit down, think nice and tall. And the idea is we're just breathing lighter and gentler through our nose. So all this breath work that we're going to do is going to be through our nose. You're going to spend about 5 to 10 minutes doing each one of these. And the breathe light, the way I like to describe it to people is think about the little hairs in your nose. And as you breathe out, they go down. And as you breathe in, they come up. And we want to breathe so light that those hairs almost aren't moving. So a really good way to get a gauge on this is put your finger just above your nose, or just below your nose, sorry. And can you actually feel the air as you breathe out pushing down onto your nose? We want it to be so light that you're not really feeling that. And as you breathe in, that you can't hardly perceive that air is coming in, that nice cool air coming in through your nose. How fast is it coming in there? We want to lighten that up, make it gentler. So if our normal breath is looking like this, it's like a big breath in, big breath out. We want to just make that curve a lot more gentle. So we're not breathing in as hard or as big. And what we want to do with all of these exercises is go for what we call a kind of like a moderate air hunger. So that means you're lightening up your breathing to the point that you kind of want to take a breath a little bit sooner, but we're going to push it out just a little bit longer than that so that you're constantly at this area by making your breath not quite as big and as kind of violent, if you will. It's a lighter breath, a little bit longer breath, and that's leaving you a little short of air. And in this case, actually like that increase in CO2. And that's that air hunger that's kicking in. And that's where we want to be. And oftentimes you're going to push past this and then just regain your breath, take a minute, breathe, and then drop back into the exercise. So that's our breathe light. And again, if you guys want a deeper dive on each of these specifically, send me a message and I can send you videos over specific to them. Breathe slow. All we're doing is very simple here. 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale. So we're not worried as much now about breathing light. We're separating these for now. All we're worried about is like inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, exhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's what we want to do. The average person is over breathing. We're breathing kind of like 14 to 16 breaths per minute. Sometimes even like that 12 to 16 breaths per minute is kind of an average person. And we want that to drop off quite a bit because as we are having less breaths per minute, there's less wasted air that isn't kind of getting all the way deep down into your lungs and actually into your body. We slow down, we get more efficient with it. So that's 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale. This does not have to be perfect seconds. You don't have to sit there with a timer. Just count it out at a nice slow pace. And that's what we're aiming for with the slow. Then deeper, this isn't really talking about like where are we breathing? Are we up in our chest or are we down in our abdomen? And trying to get down into those ribs and our diaphragm a little bit more. One of the biggest things that I see with this deep breathing exercise is that people think that breathing deeper means that we're breathing bigger. So we don't want to have our total volume of air actually increasing. We just want to change where that air is going. So as we breathe in, instead of going up into our chest, which is happening for a lot of us, we want to think like down, like almost into your pelvis, into your lower ribs, and trying to get a nice 360 degrees of expansion. If you're having trouble with this, best way to do it, laying flat on your back, legs bent, flat back, and then just put a hand on your chest, hand on your abdomen, and at first just feel for like less movement through the chest, more movement through the abdomen. First get to the point where you're just breathing through your abdomen and you can feel the belly rising and falling, and then kind of go to like a pincher grip around your waist. And then from there, you want to try and start working on 360 degrees versus just through the abdomen. And that's the plan with our breathe deep. And then once we get all of those down and we can manage each of those, then we want to start trying to combine those together. So typically what I recommend to people is spend 1 week, 10 minutes a day on breathe light, 1 week breathe slow, 1 week breathe deep, and then combine all three of those, that light, slow, deep breathing. And then you can either cycle through those or just stick with that light, slow, deep, doing that as your breath work. And after a while, what you'll notice is that that starts to come into your day-to-day life, and that's just how you're breathing naturally all the time. It's a little lighter, slower, and deeper, and that's exactly what we want out of it. Now, if you're looking to also see a bit of performance out of your breathing as well, you want to get out into the mountains, you want to run faster without getting out of breath, you want to hike higher, like have a nice steep hike and not get out of breath, you maybe whatever that exercise is for you, CO2 tolerance walk is the answer to that. So what this is doing is now pushing on that CO2 tolerance. So what we're going to do for the CO2 tolerance walk is you're going to inhale normally through your nose, exhale normally through your nose, pinch and hold your nose, and you're just going to be walking at kind of like an average to brisker pace and holding your breath after you've exhaled until you get a moderate to strong desire to breathe. And over time, continually pushing up on that ceiling of our tolerance to CO2 will increase it to a point where you'll just be like, wow, my lungs just are like, my cardio capacity is just so much higher, and it's actually just your tolerance to CO2 is getting higher. You're getting more efficient with oxygen, and that's making those differences for you. So that's the CO2 tolerance walk, and you're going to inhale, exhale, pinch and hold, walk as many steps as you can until you have that moderate to strong desire to breathe. Inhale again through your nose. This will be a good measure of how hard you pushed it. You want to still be able to inhale through your nose, recover back to normal breath in about 3 breaths, and then spend about 30 seconds to a minute just kind of recovering your breath, and then do another round of that, and again spending about 10 minutes doing this one. I will say though, with this one, be careful if you have any health concerns, you're pregnant, you have high blood pressure, you have seizures, anything with like a serious medical condition, make sure you check in with a doctor before you do this one, because it is pushing the body a little bit harder. So that's all I got for you guys. That is week 3 talking about breath work. I know I ran through those quick, but if you guys do need more help on this and you're like, hey, this breath work thing sounds like something that I need to control my stress, my anxiety, and get more efficient with my breathing, increase energy, those kind of things, send me a message and I can send you guys more detailed videos on each of those. It just takes too much time to explain it here. So I wanted to briefly cover it for you guys, expose you to it, and if you're looking for more on that, I can definitely send you more resources. So again, that was week 3 here on breathwork. And coming up, we got sleep. So we've already been over goals, nutrition, and now breathing. We're going to talk about sleep, movement, recovery, some habits, and then some tools that we can use in addition to all these basic ones. So if you guys have any questions or need anything, send me a message at peakhealthrevolution@gmail.com, and I will get back to you guys as soon as possible with either those breathing resources or answer any other questions you guys have.